What's up, everyone? Little Big Robots back. It is the 17th of September, 2022. This is my Little Big Robots toy podcast, episode 8. It's been a little bit because I caught COVID for a few days. It wasn't much more than like a flu, but it sucked all my energy out, so that was fun. But luckily, I had a couple shots in me and stuff, and so I didn't have much more than that. But the lack of energy was a bit much. But anyway, and then we had some issues with one of our animals, and then et cetera, et cetera. So lots of stuff. I've been redoing the shelves, building these little quick foam core shelves, which I'll do a little video about to kind of reorganize my collection, to kind of squish it down. And the way it's going right now, as you can see from just that shelf there, if you're watching this on the YouTube video, if not, if you're listening to this, I'm indicating the shelf behind me. It saves like twice as much space. So I will literally be able to extend these 3.5 shelves or 2.5 shelves. There's 2 large shelves, 2 small shelves, to about twice as much room. And then that way I can get more stuff, but also have more stuff displayed. But anyway, I thought today it'd be fun to talk about something I've been meaning to talk about for quite a while, which is Adeptus Titanicus. If you're not familiar with what that is, basically Games Workshop, if you're familiar with them, they make all the Space Marine stuff and that sort of thing. Warhammer 40,000, you might hear people talk about it, like Henry Cavill, people like that. And when I was a kid, I think Adeptus Titanicus came out 88, 89, 87, something like that. I was I would have been, so like 12, 13 years old. There was a hobby store in one of the malls in Oklahoma City. It might have been in Edmond. I can't quite remember. Luckily, I don't live in Oklahoma anymore, but there was a hobby store in one of them. And I remember going up the stairs where they had, I guess they'd put more like darker hobby stuff, Warhammer stuff. And they had this box called Adeptus Titanicus. And it is essentially, and I'll be showing photos here if you're watching the video. If not, I'll try and describe it in case you're listening to this on audio podcast form. But essentially it was really miniature robots. And they were of a certain scale. They called it epic scale, I believe, at the time. And then they also released the epic scale box set, which were the miniature little people fighting along the feet of these giant robots. So you had these giant robots called Titans. And then you had the Space Marines and other foot soldiers and tanks that would go along with it. And then so I bought, I believe, Adeptus Titanicus first, the original released box set. I still have the rule set and a lot of the rulers and range rulers and stuff like that. I still have all the original models that came with it. I think I'm missing one Titan. Maybe one got destroyed because we used to melt them and stuff. So I have the original Adeptus Titanicus, and I have the very first, I think it was just called Space Marine. Or was it called Epic Scale? I can't remember what it was called, the box. I'll be putting pictures up here, so it's always worth it to go back and watch this YouTube video because I'm putting additional stuff. I'll also be putting all this stuff linked because I'm going to be showing a ton of photos and stuff, but like I said, this is an audio podcast as well, so I'm trying to describe it. But I remember buying them, and I don't really remember how I got the money. We didn't have a lot of money as a kid. I must have saved up allowance or something. We didn't even really get allowance. I think they were probably 50 or 60 or 70 bucks back then in the 80s, which these days, of course, box sets are $200 and $300. So that sounds about right. And they were really, really captured my imagination. My father was in construction. His whole life, he was a construction guy. So, and we were in the midst at that time of living in a house that we built ourselves. It was this giant house that he built for him and his 7 kids. But he saved a lot of money because we actually physically worked on it. The kids, my parents, everybody. And it was getting built over time. Well, I had my own room, and my dad, being that he was in construction, had lots and lots of pipes and boards. And so we would be making little pipe guns and fun little toys and grenades out of blocks of wood. And A lot of toys and fun stuff. We had a great time because of all this construction material. Now, I don't know how much we took that we probably shouldn't have took. We were real brats back then, looking back. So he was a saint dealing with us. But he had a 4x8, which is a standard sheet of plywood. Plywood, in case you don't know, is a sheet, 3/4 inch sheet of wood used in construction. I don't know if they use it as much anymore. I don't know. But you essentially build a frame in a house, and up against the wall, then you tack this plywood, and then up against that, I believe, inside, you're going to tack sheetrock. But on the outside, you're going to use plywood, and then brick against that, blah, blah, blah. So he let me take a chunk of plywood, and then on the plywood, I tacked on baseboards. Baseboards, if you look at the bottom of your wall, when the wall meets the floor, it's the boards that they tack on there. To finish it off and also to protect against the gap there, I think. But also it used to be for, you know how you have like a chair rail, the wood that comes up to protect against chairs and stuff. I think it's a similar kind of thing. It's decorative, whatever. So I tacked those baseboards along the 4x8 board, and then my father had a construction grade sand, which was like playground sand, which is really fine and clean. And we dumped it all in there, and then I could use water to spray on the board and create little dunes and roads and stuff. So it was this whole pretty big 4x8 or 6x8 or what is it? 4x8, I'm sorry. It's pretty large if you measure that out. It's a good sized playboard. And we probably play 4 or 5 or 6 times. Massive epic skill battles with the Titans, with our little epic armies. My friend had orcs, I believe. My other friend most of us had Space Marines. And then I would also create cardboard carriers and stuff like that. And Adeptus Titanicus is the Titan version of that. Now, fast forward, they eventually got rid of epic scale. I believe they replaced it with what they call apocalypse scale or something. I'm still kind of getting the history of that. I had dropped out of it by the time I was 14, 15. I didn't do toys and stuff between like tweenhood and like in my 20s because I discovered music and girls, and that was it. I didn't have time for toys or collectibles or gaming, especially. It took so much time. You had to meet up with your friends, and I was busy chasing girls and passing notes in class and drawing and stuff. So the classic thing. Fast forward now, the modern era, and you have your standard size Space Marines, which are, you've seen them before. Again, I'm going to be posting pictures here, so it'll probably help. And everybody always wanted, are you ever going to build a Titan for this scale of normal Space Marines? So you would have these guys this big and then a Titan that was huge. And everybody, I remember discussing it for years in the aughts and the 90s and stuff, like how would they even do it? And is it possible? And Forge World eventually came out with a Titan, and it's about 22 inches tall and is about $2,000. So you have an option for a Titan on that scale. And so for a long time now, a couple years since I've been here, I've been chasing the Warhammer thing again, but I don't quite want to show up and play a normal game. So you have an option for a Titan in your standard larger format of Space Marine game. But if you get into Titans, and if you get into that whole thing, for me, the most fun debate to have, although some people take it personally, they shouldn't, it's just for fun. The debate is, what is the true size? What size should these Titans be, on the tabletop? Right now at 22 inches, it's a huge model. I think it's the largest model Games Workshop or Forge World makes, other than, I believe, the Tau ship, which is huge. They come in, you've got to prep them a lot. I believe they're made in resin. People magnetize them. It's a big project, but I kind of like that at the same time because it is such a big model. It feels like you're actually creating. I mean, I've seen people post their diaries of collecting and building their Titan, and it is an epic thing. And that's appropriate to how it should feel, I think. I think it feels appropriate. So I was just debating, should I save up or just use the old toy credit card and just grab one and build it? And even if I didn't play with it, at my local GW shop, which I would like to, it'd be a cool centerpiece. And I started thinking, man, I don't know, that for that much money. And then so I started looking at my old collection of stuff. I've actually, and I'll link in the description here on YouTube. A more recent updated collection video I made about my epic scale stuff and my Space Marines. I'll link that. You can see what I have the original OG, Titanicus and epic scale Marines and stuff. And I thought, why don't I just get back into that a bit? So I found this fantastic Facebook epic scale group. There's a few of them out there, but this Facebook one is really great. Facebook is a cesspit. I hate Facebook, but unfortunately, a lot of my older friends and stuff won't leave it. So I go on there and stick around. But they also have these really wonderful groups a lot of the time, and the groups will be very fan focused or private. It's really neat. I really like it. It's like an old forum group, but a little more friendly to posting and stuff. And they keep it alive with more current, they've updated the rules themselves. If you want to play, they reprint the original rule books, although I have those. I think it's good to have just a PDF version of it. You could use it on a tablet or whatever. So you can play with the original rules. And there's people on there who paint and keep the original models as they are, but they kind of use more modern painting techniques. They update them a bit. Maybe they upgrade them. Well, there is a newer version of Adeptus Titanicus, the board game, that has come out in recent years from Games Workshop, that has, of course, modern models that look insanely good. And this reignites this kind of scale issue, like how big should they be? Should they be 300 feet tall or this tall? And it's one of the most fun debates to have. It can get a little heated, but it's really a fun. It's a debate based on opinion. There is fact out there, but it's also based on opinion and kind of just, well, I think they should be this size, and I think they should look like this or whatever. Now, if you go back to the original books, the original rule books, the very first Titanicus and stuff like that, you find, and I'll post here hopefully my cutouts from the original rules, the description of Titans being 100 feet tall. You found from the beginning estimates around there 30 meters, stuff like that, which is roughly 100 whatever feet or whatever it'd be. So they established the size pretty early on in the lore of the game, and it's fluctuated a bit here and there. There's even an entry, which maybe I'll be posting a clip of that here as well in the YouTube video. But in the entry, it is from, I can't remember which Horus Heresy book it is. It might even be the very first one, Horus Rising. I can't remember. I think it's Dan Abnett. I can't remember. But I'll be posting that. You can look it up. And the excerpt from it describes him as being 150 meters tall. That would be 300 some odd feet for us American people. I don't know why we don't use metric over here, or whatever you call it. But somebody said on one of the fan forums or whatever that they believe that was probably a mistake. It wasn't supposed to be 150 meters or 130 meters tall. It was supposed to be 130, 150 feet. And the editor, or there was a mistake in publishing or something. I don't know. I actually kind of buy that, because I don't think they would suddenly say they're 300 some odd feet tall. Kind of going against not only their official model, which is about 22 inches on that scale, but also going against established norms before that. Now, in the Titan world, which are the ultimate little big robots, this is why I thought it'd be fun to get back into them, repaint them and stuff like that, maybe play a few games. In the world of Titans, there are different sizes or whatever, different classes. There's the Warhound, which is like a smaller, faster scout mech, but they're really cool looking, like a hunched over dog looking thing. Again, I'll hopefully be posting photos of this stuff. There is the Reaver Titan, which is a really interesting looking Titan. It's like a mid-class kind of, it's more long-range missiles and stuff. And then there's the Warhounds, which are the great big, the common ones that you got with the Adeptus Titanicus kit. They're a certain size. And then in this newer version, there's War Masters or Warbringers. I can't remember. But there was always the ultimate size, which were the Emperor class. And in that class, you had Imperator Titans and another Emperor class. I can't remember the name of it. That's more long range. But the Emperor class was known to have on the backside, like a turtle, essentially a building, a series of buildings, like a cathedral on their back. That's how huge they were. They would carry around a cathedral of emperor loyal people, and it'd be 100 people or whatever. Not only that, but the emperor's Titan's legs, the feet, were so large they could carry inside the feet tanks and a bunch of people and stuff. And so as I'm talking here, hopefully, again, if you're listening to this in audio form, I'll try to, maybe I'll post a gallery or something, or a subreddit post, and I'll link it all hopefully in this description of this YouTube video. But there's fantastic art of these Emperor Titans having all these little people coming out of the feet, using the toes as like stairs, and the scale is just out of this world. They have to be 500 feet tall. It was just this monster, huge monster. Godzilla's larger than Godzilla, bristling with weaponry, and it's just I have found that since 2016, since the beginning of the end of the world here in the U.S., I'm not a stressful person. I don't suffer from stress a lot. I'm very lucky. I never get depressed. I never have depressive thoughts. I've never been really, as a kid, maybe a little bit when a girl broke my heart or something, but other than that, nothing. I've been very fortunate. I am not under any false ideals about, it's just sheer luck, and by luck, because I know that it affects a lot of people. Stress at minimum, especially during COVID, has really messed with people. And what I have found, though, is that I'll be hanging out, and I'll start to think about, hey, I'll go mess with that thing, that model kit, or that Joy toy, or I'll redo my shelves, and suddenly I will get kind of a feeling of, it's like warmth, it's like comfort, or something like that. And I realize, and because I have to be honest with myself, I realize that is me not realizing I might feel a little stress or a little feeling down a little bit. And that thing that I'm getting into or revisiting or whatever is relaxing me. And it's a release of tension, I guess. So you can often be stressed or feel depressed or whatever, and not even really know it. Especially when you have like sick pets, or let's say you had money problems, or you were physically ill, you got cancer, or who knows, any of that kind of stuff will really affect you, and you might not even really know it until something relaxing or something lovely comes along, and or a vacation, or you're just hanging out with some friends, and you just feel that good feeling. And a lot of people, especially since 2016, but especially since COVID, need that kind of stuff, and I'm kind of shocked at how resistant some people are to having some sort of thing that relaxes them or gives them a safe area to just chill. And this, funny enough, but for me, the Titans, thinking about them, reading books about them, I've slowly made a list of all the books and stories that contain Titan information. It gives me that kind of a feeling. Similar to maybe a new Gunpla kit or something. There's just a nice warm feeling there, which is really funny because it's such a bloody universe. Everybody's space Nazis practically. Everybody's horrible. It's just this depressing universe, but I don't really care about all that stuff. What I care about is giant descriptions of giant things and outrageous, goofy stuff. Weapons the size of a football field, just that kind of, it really makes you feel like a kid again. And it really kind of reminds me of when I was a kid and I first got into Epic Scale. We didn't play a ton. We'd played maybe 6-7 games over the course of every other month. We'd play a game because you had to get together with your friends in your house and that sort of thing. But the feeling I remember getting with that is I would just daydream about it. This is before the internet. So I'd read the books, check out the rule book. I would draw them. I would design, carriers out of cardboard. There is a line of toys, which I've been meaning to do a video about, and their name is slipping my brain right now. Hopefully I'll post a picture of it here if you're watching the video, that work perfectly with Epic Scale. In fact, I'll probably post pictures of them on the Epic Scales Facebook group because they were really a fun line from the 80s. I had those, and I'm going to use these and put rules on these guys and stuff. It really excited my imagination. The violence of it and all the dark stuff wasn't the appeal. I didn't really care about that. It was the scale of everything. That's what I enjoy about Warhammer. It's not the violent, dark, like chaos is not scary to me. Chaos Marines, they look kind of stupid. Excuse my language. they look really they're not very frightening. Frightening to me would be Chaos Space Marines showing up and they didn't say or do anything. They just showed up and did what they do because they're kind of cartoony in the books. That stuff is not really interesting to me. What's fun to me is giant walking robots fighting other giant walking robots, because Titans and Warhammer are a bit different than they are. It's different than other giant robot manga and anime and stuff where they're agile and they look like humans, and Titans are big hunched over walking kind of buildings. And I've always loved that feeling of people being inside them and going through the conduits. And the way they describe them in the book is hilarious. It's like people in lower decks and climbing through the legs in an elevator, which is completely ridiculous if you see the models as they create them. But it's fun. I like having a bit of a grayish area with some of that stuff, or a room for interpretation, because your imagination is so much more powerful than anything would be in a book or in a piece of art. But having said all that, there is a new, I want to say, called the War Master. Again, I'll try and poke a screenshot or link here if you're watching the video. That a third-party company is making. I think they're called Game Bling. Again, I'll have all the information there. They're making a true, what seems to me to be the accurate scale, quote unquote, of at least how it feels in my heart, my mind, of an Imperator or Emperor Titan with giant. It's almost too big. You're almost like, this is a little bit too big, but it feels perfect. And the model was $200. I was like, I'm not going to get it. I don't even play anymore. Not yet, at least. I'm getting back into it. I'll play with some friends on my dining room table, but man, I should have grabbed it because that thing it looks incredible, and the scale feels appropriate. And I saw it, and that's when I knew I don't want to get the $2,000 almost 2 foot tall, real scale, quote unquote, Titan. That's a project I don't need. I don't really want. But with Epic Scale, if you had even $1,000, you could not only buy an entire army or armies of Epic Scale, you could set up a table, you could buy your friends' armies, you could pay somebody to paint them. They're tiny scale. So you can, for the price of one model, a $250 tank or $150 tank and normal whatever, you can buy either through eBay or people who sell original box stuff on eBay, even dirt cheap. You can buy a whole army. You could have all the epic machines you want, use all those rules, and have a great big epic scale battle. I don't know that I hope that they bring it all back. I think they will with Adeptus Titanicus. I believe that Games Workshop has said they're going to bring back the epic scale part of it. There's already knights, which knights are, let's say, 20 or 30 foot tall, 20 foot tall or something like that, like mechs that Games Workshop currently makes that work with the normal scale Marines. And those are really popular because they're like a Titan, but they're small. As far as you're not buying a 2 foot tall, $2,000 model, you're spending $150, $200 on a 6-inch model, whatever, and it's still a good centerpiece model. I've thought about getting into those, but again, that's the standard scale Space Marine stuff, which you have to have a larger table for, you have to have more people, or at least, more armies and stuff, like more larger stuff, more stuff. So I'm really excited to kind of explore my original. I have them all right. You probably can't see that right here. It says Warhammer 40K. That's my original Titan, a Titanicus, and epic scale army. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do, I'm feeling in my heart, even though the old rule set is probably pretty cruddy, is use all the original stuff. There are some people in that Facebook group that have taken the original models of Titans especially and paint them with it. They just look so fun and so good, even though they're not that right scale. or I thought maybe eventually buying the new Adeptus Titanicus box set, playing it with the original, with their rules that come with the box set, of course, but using those models, or even just buying single Warhounds or whatever, with my original Epic Scale stuff. And that's a whole nother debate. Do they scale well and stuff? So if you see me talking about this stuff, feel free to throw in there what you think about the sizing and the scale of these models compared to what they should be, because that's the fun stuff. It excites your imagination. There's something about it that really brings out the kid in me, maybe because when I was a kid, this literally was something I was into. But I just wanted to get back into the podcast by talking about something that I've been thinking about for quite a while, and I'm pretty sure I'll get back into it. A lot of the original models are already painted, of course. I probably won't repaint the Marines and stuff because to strip them and all that, they're so tiny that can actually cause more of an issue. But I will definitely be stripping a few, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 of the original Titans and repainting those. Just making I'm a good painter. I'm an artist and stuff, but I haven't done mini painting in a long time. So repainting those and having some friends over and playing a couple on I have a large dining room table. That's the perfect size. There's also, hopefully I'll link some pictures here and maybe put a link, but a British company, English company in England that does paper buildings and stuff. Just pop them apart and put them back together. And I'm thinking of buying, it's only like 30 pounds, whatever that'd be with shipping and everything over here. And you get several Adeptus Titanicus scale buildings. I have the original ones that came with the Adeptus Titanicus, the buildings, or the Epic Scale box, but they're a little bit not very good. So maybe I'll grab some of those and let you all know. But anyway, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, I'll link to the Facebook group on the YouTube video. If you're listening to this in audio form, you can always find my videos at YouTube / Little Big Robots. Just look up Little Big Robots. You'll find it. I'm also on Twitter under that handle. So have a good day, everybody. And it's good to be back. Hopefully I'm still trying to, you can't see over here, but I've got like 10 things to review for my channel. So what I've been doing for a while is 2 review-ish things during the week and then a podcast or longer form video on the Saturdays, the weekends, stuff like that. So have a good day, everybody. Go get you something that makes you feel good. Go spend a little money on a toy or something. Give yourself a little self-love. You know what I'm talking about? Have a good day, everybody. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.